Okay, so for the last discussion board, the prompt was just to pick a topic from the whole class and talk about it. So, um, this is a very broad topic, but the thing that I've really enjoyed about this class has been the attributes of God and his communicable and incommunicable attributes. So I'm glancing through all the notes. So this reminded me of my undergraduate days because my degree was in vocal music education. And so for the first 2 years in the program, you do music theory, which, if you're unfamiliar, it's all the intricacies of how music works and how certain sounds flow together, and you study composers and what they did and the methods they did. But anyway, the running joke is that music theory isn't rocket science, but it might as well be because it's just as difficult to understand. And so a lot of times in music theory, you'll be taught something and then you'll go, oh, I get it. And then 30 seconds later, you'll be like, I don't really get it. And then you'll get it, and then you won't. And then you get it, and then you don't. So God's attributes feel a lot like that to me, to where whenever someone talks about them, I'm like, oh yeah, I understand that. And then immediately I'm like, but do I really? Because I don't think I do. So there was ones like God's knowledge and like I have a surface level of like God's knowledge is good and God's knowledge is all encompassing. And then they throw in categories like there's natural and free, and then I'm like, okay, I don't understand it. So yeah, just all of the things with his attributes and things like that were just so um, refreshing and comforting. Um, and it's comforting to me to think that a God who is so immense but also simple and spans for all eternity, but also doesn't have, like, he's not spatially confined, and yet he chose to send his son to die for me. So it's humbling, it's comforting. I also enjoyed whenever we talked about the immutability of God, because this is always something I've struggled with, even in conversations with people, of like, well, doesn't God change his mind? Because he'll say he saves people, and then, like, in the lectures, he talked about Moses and Saul, whenever God says, like, the Lord regretted that he made Saul king, and what that actually means. Um, and I've had those conversations with other people where it's been difficult to discuss how God can be immutable and not change and say what he means, and yet in the Bible we see the human language make it sound like it's something else. Um, so that was comforting. I enjoyed that part. Um, it that section is definitely one of those where I think I understand it and then I don't, and then I think I understand it and then I don't. Um, so I appreciate all the scripture references in that, the First Samuel 15, the Exodus 32, um, and how it talks about the anthropomorphism. I cannot speak. So sorry. Um, and it's just helpful to see how they're not things that contradict, they're just things that language wise do sound like they contradict. So, overall, I've enjoyed the class. Systematic is kind of one of those classes that's like notoriously hard, but I think this class has been really fair in how it's structured and how it's worked. Um, I like the notes. The notes have been very helpful. So, yeah, I know that's a big, broad topic of the existence and the attributes of God and all that other stuff, but it's been one of the most encouraging parts of this class just to look through who God is and how he reveals himself and what that means for me personally, and then how I can use those in conversations with other people to help lead them towards the gospel. So, yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed this class.